belated Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome to 2024, our first podcast of Ramble On for 2024. Mr. Mayor, I've forgotten what episode we're up to. Would it be 8 or 9?
9. We recorded episode 8 before Christmas, but it came out after Christmas, so probably was of questionable applicability.
Yeah, well, there was lots of meaty stuff on there, if I recall correctly, mainly around the Christmas tree. So that was that was lovely. But and welcome to you. Happy New Year and all of that belatedly. And how have you been putting in the first 6 to 8 weeks of the year?
I've actually enjoyed being back on deck. No, that's not a comment on my family, but it's good to be back. And I found myself yearning for work. Anyway.
Well, the punters will love to hear that.
Yeah, I think there'll be a handful of them that'll think I'm being cynical. But,
well, they don't know you well
They don't know me well enough. No, it's good to be back. And, yeah, it seems to be an upbeat vibe about the place.
Yes, I agree. Actually, on my way down here, I ran into Councillor Susan McMichael and told her we were coming to do the podcast, and she was wondering when her invite was going to come. So, yeah. But she also asked if we were going to mention the fact that Albo's getting married. And I said no, but anyway, we have.
Yeah, well, let's not. I didn't know that. That's look, that is great. And I know we promised throughout last year that we would get guests in. We'd better make it happen.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, no, we'll make that happen. And also maybe even some live pictures of us, like a video stream as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, mainly.
I wouldn't say that the punters have been crying out for that.
No, well, I've got a good head for radio, so I'd feel much more comfortable if the camera was just on you. But anyway, in terms of council land, what's been occupying your time of late?
Look, there's been a bit that's showing off, and I think we'll probably tic-tac on two of the biggies, but the first one's the Local Strategic Planning Statement, or the LSPS.
Yes, currently, the draft.
In the draft version,
yes.
Yeah, so that's been probably 12 months in the making, and we've had a lot of people beavering away in the background to get that draft ready. It's on an extended exhibition for 42 days. I think I was going to say the 9th of March, but no, whenever it is, 42 days. And I'd really encourage everyone to get in and have a look, make some submissions, give us your thoughts, because it's a big picture view on where we see this region and how we're going to get there. It's not the detailed map, but it's the goalpost, and it's called Toward 50,000, which is a reference to a population of 50,000 people. But James, I'll ask just for some of your local government experience, aren't they required to have an LSPS?
Yes, every council is required to have an LSPS, and which we did back probably from about 2020-ish, but it wasn't what you would call a pivotal document that was going to really whet the appetites of those in Macquarie Street and further afield to want to generate and put any emphasis into Armidale and this region, building this region more broadly. And I think, certainly from my perspective, and you're better qualified to chat to this than me, but I think off the back of the election of the new council and the very strong growth agenda that they had and that you put forward and led through some of your early work, I think we were able to really reshape that document and give it some real bite and talk about population targets of up to 50,000 and what that would mean in terms of water security and all those other things, as opposed to that stagnation that had happened for the last 20 plus years and going nowhere in a hurry. But again, over to you on that one.
Yeah, my thinking had been, if every council's required to have one, why is this important? You've kind of answered that, in that the audience, or a significant part of that audience, is the state government, Macquarie Street. And we have to go through a process of speaking to a number of different departments there to get them to, I guess, really accept the LSPS, or the Local Strategic Planning Statement, Towards 50,000. And if they accept that, then the state government will alter its growth projections for our region. If they alter the growth projections, then they're going to have to invest in our region. If they invest in our region, if government money comes in, private money tends to follow. And we've had a long and sorry history of low growth, which meant the government doesn't predict anything's going to happen here, which means they're not going to put money into education, health, etc., all those things that make for a vibrant town. So that's it. James, just from your experience, how many councils just do a bog standard LSPS, and how many probably go to the time, effort and money that we have?
I'd say by and large, most councils, or most councillors that don't have great aspirations to be anything beyond what they already are, would just do that bulk standard document, and you'd rely on the Department of Planning population projections, for instance, as your baseline, and you'd use that as the way to put your statement forward, and then you might come up with a couple of growth initiatives here and there, or potential growth initiatives, but which would largely just be aspirational because there's nothing sit behind them. I think one of the key differences about our document is that it's all good and well to say that you want to have a population of 50,000, which is fantastic, but where our document goes just that couple of steps further is it actually talks about, in real terms, how we're going to achieve that. Mm-hmm. And as we well know, the jobs are the reasons that people move to regional areas, where they can. There's very few jobs that can be done from here that would sort of, but people are employed elsewhere, and I know, like with yourself and Deputy Mayor Redwood, that's certainly a real thing, but they're not the norm.
No.
So we know that people move to regional centres if they've got a job. So the real focus of the Job Summit that you held back in February 22 and the broader growth objectives of the council has been, let's work out how we can create jobs. We know that if we create 4,000 jobs, that would probably trend into population increase of between 10 and 12,000, which gets us well and truly on our way to the 50,000.
Yeah, because we were originally projecting an extra, or to get to 40,000 people, so 10,000 additional by 2040, and then the 50 was, well, we're down this path. We actually need to plan for a population of 50.
Yes,
and that'll be well after our time. One of the questions that gets asked, and I think it's a fair thing, is well, why grow? What's the point? We're happy how we are, and I guess there's a couple of reasons for it, but one is you've got to understand how local government funding works, and we're capped in the total dollar amount of revenue that we can raise with rates, and the only way to bring those rates down for individuals, assuming that the dollar amount set is appropriate and it is necessary to maintain our assets, is to bring more ratepayers in. More ratepayers doesn't actually mean more rates. And that's a real misnomer. It was something that I didn't understand until I got here. It's a pretty flawed model. So one of the reasons to grow is sustainability. The other thing is, and then there's plenty more that comes from it, like vibrancy, which we've talked about. Vibrancy in our urban areas, where we've got too much retail space, not enough shoppers. That needs to change, and what's more, it probably won't impact big picture people's day-to-day lives negatively.
No, agreed.
A higher population, there's still going to be quiet corners of our LGA that you can go to. There's certainly, I'd say we have excess capacity, certainly in Armidale City. The excess capacity is there that means an extra 10,000 people won't change. It also mean, well, we can then rethink schools. Is one public high school sufficient?
Yeah.
Well, probably not with an extra 10,000 people. Certainly not if we were certainly not if we were a total population of 50,000.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the other thing that people should understand though too is that we're just not sitting here saying, well, let's get 50,000 people, let's create another 4,000 jobs without a plan to be able to sustain that as well. So obviously, and we can talk a little bit in a minute about the water security package that councils worked really hard to secure, and we know we talk about jobs. Well, we have to know how we're going to create those jobs. So the LSPS also goes to talking about that and where the likely growth areas across the region, the council region, will be. It talks about water security, because we know that if we're going to be able to do any of this, we've got to solve that water security problem. So, Mr. Mayor, probably a nice segue into
water security.
Particular topic.
Yeah, well, Oaky, which was purchased at the end of last year. Actually, end of the year before, we entered into agreement, but you and I signed the documents only a few weeks ago.
We did, yes. That was
so it finally settled.
22nd of January, yes, we took ownership of the Oaky Dam, and that's a significant milestone for council and for the region in terms of water security. Do you want to talk about that in terms of its connection to Malpas?
I think we've sort of done that to death, so I wonder if people know that. So I might, that Oaky is a key part. It'll, feed back into the Armidale water treatment plant. But probably what I want to go to you is something that popped up. Didn't pop up, but it would have come into the public's consciousness. In January, there was an expression of interest that council put out there in relation to Oaky Dam. Can you just expand on what that was and what the outcomes have been?
Yes, certainly. So, one of there was obviously the original reason for going and seeking to purchase Oaky was around water security and making sure that we could get some water from another catchment that would allow us to sustain a population of up to 50,000 and the journey that gets us to there. So big tick box there as far as Oaky goes. But what we also realised was that, or perhaps some more of the discerning people realised, was that there's a real opportunity for a revenue stream, if you like, for want of a better phrase, that the purchase of the Oaky Dam presents for council. And so we're not hydroelectric engineers. That's not what we do and not what our bag is. But we understand there is some great opportunity there. So the secondary benefit around having Oaky tick, we've got the water security sorted, but we also know that there is that particular potential revenue stream, as I mentioned. So what we wanted to do was, or what we have done, is put an expression of interest out to the market, to the big players and small players out there in hydroelectricity land that have some experience, a lot of experience in this field, and have made available the ability for them to come back to council and say, well, we would like to partner with you and present a solution, if you like, about how, with that dam being repaired, what that might look like and what those opportunities might present in terms of revenue streams for them, obviously, because nobody sets out to do this stuff for free, but what it might mean for us in terms of, as I've often heard you use the term, off-farm income. So, and just you mentioned earlier, we are bound by rates and grants and those sorts of things, really, in terms of our revenue. But what can we do to think outside the square to generate another form of revenue or income that we haven't had previously? So that's what this EOI will do for us. It closed on the 11th of February, just recently. Sunday night, yes. We had, there was more than 500 downloads of the information. We had 21 expressions of interest.
21?
21.
Geez, that's solid.
So, which was a fantastic outcome. I mean, I would have been happy with 4 or 5. But to know that there was 21, there was some clear interest out there in the market. And while we're about to sit down and really go through those and see what they mean, the opportunity for us will be just a short list with maybe sort of 5 or 6, half dozen, 6 or half a dozen. Of people that really know this industry well, and then just work with them on what a proposal might look like for us, and what that will ultimately do is help us shape a request for tender that we can go to the market with, and understanding that we've tapped into all of the potential opportunities that this project provides us. Again, water security being the number one priority, but what those secondary benefits might be from a revenue perspective. So, yeah, very exciting times for us, and the future is really bright with this purchase. It was probably the best $4 million we've ever spent.
Well done.
Yeah, no, so that, well, I mean, I think it was really, the foresight of the council too, to see this opportunity so early in its term and be prepared to grasp it. And again, not that you need me to pump up your tyres too much, but I think that's been a real hallmark of this council. Very early on have been prepared to make those very hard and unpopular decisions. The special rate variation was one of those, but I think people are starting to see the benefit of that now with the level of roadwork that we're able to do and infrastructure renewal. The water security issue, the purchase of Oaky, again, a decision very early in this council's term, but it was prepared to make those tough decisions, recognising that it's about the future of the region, not that short-term, feeling that people might have, specifically about themselves and what their legacy might be. So I think kudos to the council for that.
And back to management, I think, it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. As you said, that expression of interest will lead to a request for tender. In the next couple of years, what happens with Oaky, I think, could be really, really exciting and make it a very unique proposition for any council anywhere.
I'd agree, yeah. I mean, we know that we've got local government elections coming up in September this year, and, if ever there was any good candidates out there that were ever thinking that the time might be right to get onto Armidale Regional Council, then now would certainly be it, because there's a lot of that hard work and grunt work has, genuinely been done by this council and to set it up for the future. So, again, just kudos to the current elected council for the work that they've put into making it happen. I think it's been great.
Good day. What else?
Australia Day. We had the great pleasure recently of overseeing. I love hearing your view of that, so I'd love to hear it again.
I think we do it really well in this region. It's not an Australia Day. Let's call it the Australia occasion, because on the 25th, the night of the 25th, Guyra has their Australia Day function, and it's a dinner. Their awards and everything, and that's a hoot. You and I were up there. Councillor Susan McMichael, that you bumped into in the street, was there as well from council, and they do a fantastic job up there. It's the heart and soul of the people that are the heart and soul of Guyra all get behind it.
Yes,
they fill the bowling club. It's a great feed, and some really worthy recipients, so that was good. We had a really entertaining speaker this year, so it can probably be a little bit hit and miss, I imagine, the Australia Day guests that you get, but our guy Michael Crossland was certainly very engaging, very popular with people. He had a great message. Then we kick off the actual Australia Day on the 26th at Ben Lomond, 7 a.m. for a breakfast up there, and we sing a few songs and hear a poem and a bit of a talk and have breakfast. Our Australia Day guest gives a speech again, and then I think there's that little bit of shock that comes over his face as he recognises some people from the night before. Yeah. So there's a quick speech adjustment. Yeah. And we're there for a couple of hours enjoying the festivities at Ben Lomond. Down to Guyra, raise a flag there, sing an anthem, and the flag raising was near the big lam. At the three flag poles there, and some of the Guyra award recipients were the flag raisers. Yes. So that was a nice touch as well. And then into Armidale for the Armidale Australia Day. Well, there's two things there. It's the Australia Day awards, the Citizen of the Year, all of those sorts of things, plus the citizenship ceremony. So it's a great occasion, and that was in a marquee in Central Park, and it was one of these wonderful Armidale days that other regions can only be envious of. Not too hot, not too cold, big blue sky, no wind, and it was great. And as I say often, I think citizenship ceremonies are a real highlight of my role. It was something I'd never really considered. I guess an unexpected highlight. Yeah. Just the look of delight on people's eyes, in people's eyes when they're made Australian citizens, and you realise that the bulk of us have won the lottery being born Australian.
Indeed,
and if you're ever doubting that, you just have to see how delighted new citizens are. And, we're away.
Yeah, no, it is. It truly is a great day. And fortunately, we get to preside over, or you get to preside, I get to support over probably 4 or 5 of those ceremonies a year. We've got another one coming up in a week or two. But, yeah, they certainly, you're right about being an unexpected joy. They are just a genuine delight to be part of, and the people are so happy. So, yeah, that's good. We also welcomed some OAMs.
Oh, we did.
As part of that.
There was a sneak peek up at Gyra. Hans Heatbrink was awarded an OAM, which well was, done, well done. That was really well deserved and very, very popular. And Adam Marshall announced that on the night.
Yes, he did,
which was good. So, there was a crowd around Hans there for that. And in Armidale, we had 2 as well. We had Richard Mills and Susie Dunn, and they were in the crowd on Australia Day. So, whilst it's not our award to announce, as they were there and there's a bit of excitement, it was great to call them out on the day. Yeah,
it was great. Well done to those 3. It's a great honour to be nominated, but to win and get that up, I imagine they would be really excited, which is a bit of a segue for me, Mr. Mayor. Question without notice for you. I ran into one of our OAMs in the street earlier, a week or 2 ago, and I'll give it away when I say this, but and she said to me, "Oh, James, so nice to see you. I haven't seen you for a little while. Your ears must be burning." And I said, "Oh, no, okay, what's that about?" She said, "Yes, and I can't think of the name of it, but apparently there's another publication, newspaper thing that circulates the district." And she said, "Oh, yes, you and Sam have been really quite slammed in that of late, and there's been all this sort of..." I can't think of the name of it, but I've not seen it, but it does escape me. But so I guess my question without notice for you is, 1, what is this publication? And 2, should we invite said person who writes along to our podcast so we can find out, answer any questions they may have? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great idea, because I know the publication, and clearly they listen to it, because they don't write anything complimentary about council. Everything we do is wrong. So, yeah, look, let's reach out.
Yeah.
If they're willing to come in and have a chat. I know that the editor appears on a radio program, so maybe that editor would like to come in and see how
of our podcast,
be part of the podcast, put a few things up, maybe answer a few questions. But I do see that publication from time to time, and it's kind of funny. Anyway, there we go.
Because the one thing that I'm acutely aware of, not that I'm familiar with it, but which in and of itself is strange, because you would think normally when people are, like I know with our local newspaper or the the news media that we do, often people will come and interview us to get the other perspective, the council's perspective on things. I've not been part of a request like that for this particular. Not sure whether you have or not, but yes, but this might be the opportunity just to break some ice or break some bread and be able to answer questions directly, and perhaps put an alternate view forward that may not have been considered. But if you think that's a great idea, we can.
Why don't we get in touch?
Should I leave that with you to extend that invitation?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's do that. And I think lastly, we touched at the beginning about the need to invite some of our some other people along, that can form part of the podcast as well, and just get their views on the world. So I know I've said this a couple of times now, but I do have a couple of our outdoor workforce that are really champing at the bit to come and talk about just what they do, and the road network, and
parks and gardens
and all of those sorts of things. So look, it might just be an opportunity for people to get another perspective about the day in the life of some of the works crews and the staff that work for Armidale.
And I think it'd be really interesting too, how do they make their decisions on what gets done and when? Is there a mowing cycle, or does it require is there a schedule of works, or do we require Facebook posts?
Yes, indeed.
So, it'd be really good to delve into that, and I'd be really interested. So, put someone in a headlock and drag them in.
Next podcast shall be done. Mr. Mayor, I'm almost thinking that's probably just about our time.
That's it, yeah.
Thank you very much once again. Great to be able to do this with you. And I will see you as part of it. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, but I'll certainly see you as part of our next podcast.
Episode 10 with your special guest.
With our special guest, Jeff. So thanks, everybody, and have a great week.